to a new episode of our Lunchtime Linkup series, where we talk with members of the DivInc community about how we are impacting the tech ecosystem with diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility as our guide. I'm your host, Sharice Luter, and today we have two amazing people on. We have our program directors for our accelerators, both in Austin and in Houston, joining us today to talk about our Women in Tech accelerators, both in both cities. So right now, as you've probably seen if you follow us on social, we have already recruited an amazing cohort for our Houston accelerator, and now we are in the recruitment time for our Austin accelerator that will be starting in February. So I'm going to ask the program directors to introduce themselves, and then we're going to talk a bit about the accelerator and the experience so that you get an idea of what you experience if you become one of our cohort members in the future. So I'm going to start with Alyssa. Take it away.
Hey there, my name is Alyssa Padron. I am the Austin Program Director. I have been with DivInc since last November, ran one accelerator so far, and super excited to get started with Women in Tech in the spring.
Hello, I am Amanda Moya, and I am the Houston Program Director. I have been with DivInc for about a year, and we just finished up our Sports Tech Accelerator this spring, and I'm so pumped for this Women in Tech Accelerator happening in a few short weeks.
Great. Welcome to both of you. So I think maybe let's start with just the foundational stuff about our accelerator. What exactly is the criteria to become a part of a DivInc accelerator? And Alyssa, if you want to start.
Sure thing. So we're looking for-profit tech startups that are scalable and potentially venture backable. So we are looking specifically for our Austin Spring program in 2023. We're looking for women identifying and non-binary people to apply to fit our Women in Tech Accelerator focus. But the tech startups can be in any industry, whether it's health tech, femtech, new innovations in travel. We really are pretty industry agnostic as long as you're working on something that's a tech-based innovative solution to a real-world problem.
Awesome. And I just want to get a little bit of clarity. So if you had to say what stage a particular company was in, what would you say is our focus?
Yeah, so we work with companies that are a bit earlier stage than some of the larger accelerator programs. So we are not really focused on just, your revenue numbers when you're coming into the program. We do want to make sure that you're past the ideation stage. So we make sure that you have an MVP of your product already built. We want to make sure that you have something that's ready either to launch, pilot, send out into beta testing, some way that we can help you measure traction during the program.
Got it. Okay, and Amanda, so my next question is, I think this is something that we have a lot of people talk to us about when they're really trying to understand the purpose of an accelerator. They now know that they can do it. They now know the criteria, but what is it that we do, and what is it that would make it advantageous for someone to participate in an accelerator of any kind, and then DivInc's specifically?
Yeah, good question. So what we do at DivInc is we run a 12-week accelerator that aims to help you achieve everything in those 3 months that you would typically achieve in a year on your own. So our programming centers around finding your product market fit, gaining early traction, and understanding the pathways that you need to scale and to grow. So our program is built around many workshops, and we also really focus on the whole founder. So we have something that we call Wellness Wednesdays, because we know that as a founder, this is your life and your blood, and this is your sweat and your tears, and it really it's ingrained in your life personally. So we want to make sure that going through our 12-week program, not only are we focused on the growth and development of your company as quickly as we can, but also the growth and development of you as a person and an entrepreneur.
Got it. And as y'all are kind of evaluating applications and evaluating applicants, what is it that you look for that matches perfect with the kind of program that we have? And Amanda, if you want to continue.
Yeah, sorry, could you repeat the question?
No problem. So I'm wondering what do you look for in a founder, pretty much, as that
Yes.
matches well with the, with what we're looking for. We talked a little about, Alyssa talked a little about what the kind of companies we look for, but I'm wondering what do you look for in founders?
Yeah, with founders, I think the biggest thing that we're looking for is coachability and founders really being open to change. So when they come into our program, we're going to have so many workshop facilitators and mentors working with them, giving them different feedback, different insights, and different strategies, maybe to change up their business model or finding different customers they weren't thinking about before. So founders that are open to flexibility in their current plans as we give them as much advice as possible to help them grow and scale as quickly as they can. And if I missed anything, what else would you say, Alyssa?
I think growth mindset is something that comes to mind. I am a recovering perfectionist myself, and so the idea of failing fast feels kind of scary sometimes. But especially with how quickly we're trying to move in those 12 weeks, it's really important that a founder is open to experimentation. We want you to fail fast so you can learn faster.
And be able to fail with a group of people who are all doing it together and with a support system around you, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You definitely want to have that support.
Yeah. So with that, I'd love to hear y'all talk a little bit about what's that kind of that day-to-day like. You mentioned founder mentors, you mentioned workshops, you mentioned all things, but I'm wondering, what is maybe a day in the life or a week in the life of a founder look like when they're in one of our accelerators? And Alyssa, if you want to give us a
Sure
few
thing. Yeah. So we've got a couple of workshops and programming that happen on a weekly basis. So one of those is Metric Mondays. So at the very beginning of the program, you'll come in and you'll let us know what your goals are for those 12 weeks. So we're really focused on helping you gain traction, whether that's through increasing your wait list, the number of beta testers, getting pilots going. So we'll set up those goals at the very beginning of the program and check in on those every Monday. You'll report out your progress to the rest of the accelerator so we can all help keep each other accountable. Tuesdays, we'll have workshop time in the morning and pitch practice in the afternoon. All of this pitch practice is getting you set up for our demo day at the end of the program. So this is a pretty standard kind of 5-minute pitch that you'll give in front of a big general audience towards the end of the program, getting you set up there. Wednesdays, we'll have our workshops in the morning, and then we'll have either our Wellness Wednesday programming. So we'll have workshops that can be anything and everything from understanding your money mindset, talking about self-care as a founder. And then every other week, we'll have what we call Terrifics and Terribles dinners, which are always super fun. It's just a great time for the cohort to come together, share a meal, talk about the highs and lows of our week. One of the things that Amanda had mentioned earlier was really that whole founder wellness aspect to the program. This is one of the ways that we really want to help support both connection throughout the cohort itself, but also making sure that we can create a space for y'all to talk about the things that are really tough as a founder. So Thursdays, we'll have virtual workshops. And then Fridays, we don't have any workshop programming. That time is set aside for founders to be meeting one-on-one with their mentors, one-on-one with DivInc staff if they need, and then they'll also be meeting with our EIRs as well.
Okay, and let's talk a little about the EIRs. Well, first of all, entrepreneur in residence.
Yes.
But Amanda, can you tell us a little bit about that position and how they support the founders?
Yes, so we are super excited to have some incredible EIRs working with our founders. So this entrepreneur in residence either has had their own company in the past, has scaled and has exited, or is really focused on the venture space and is really helping our founders do everything that they need possible to become a venture backable company. So this EIR will sit in on most of the workshops with our founders, really get to know them one-on-one, and then do one-on-ones with them weekly to really make sure that they are reaching the goals that they need. And this EIR is also going to connect them with the people that they know in the industry to help them get partnerships, get letters of intent, and open up their network.
Got it. Okay, yeah, that's a huge group of mentors. So there's the EIR, our entrepreneur in residence. There's our normal mentors and coaches that work with the founders, workshop facilitators, and then of course you all who are supporting the founders. So it's really a guided tour through building your company for every single one of our and our producer put up if you're interested in being a part of our mentor crew, either in Austin or in Houston, and virtually actually, please go to our Get Involved page and you can sign up to share some of your expertise. So I did mention virtual, but because we do accept applications from outside of Houston and Austin, really outside of Texas and outside of the country, if a founder from a different state or a different city is interested, how does that work exactly? And,
yes, I do.
Yeah.
No, I do want to clarify, we are looking for US-based startups. So even if you're a founder that's based somewhere else, we do want to make sure your startup is what's incorporated here in the US. But yeah, we really highly recommend that founders attend as much in-person programming as possible. Now we've got a little bit more flexibility after COVID to gather together and make sure that we're doing so safely. There's really nothing that can replace that kind of like in-person connection that you're able to make both with the cohort, the other founders that are part of your accelerator, and also with our workshop facilitators, like you mentioned, all of the mentors, EIRs, things like that. It's a really great way to personalize that connection by meeting in person. That said, we understand that life is crazy, things happen. Sometimes you need to travel, sometimes you need to just be with your family. So we definitely have accommodation set up for virtual participation. The way that we're running our Austin Spring program is that we'll have our in-person programming running Monday through Wednesday, and then we'll have virtual programming on Thursday. So if you are needing to travel back and forth between Austin and wherever you're located, you know that you'll have those 3 days a week that you'll need to be there in person.
Okay, and is it the same, Amanda, for the Houston programs, for that kind of that general schedule?
Yes, in Houston, it's a little bit different this time around. We are going to do Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays, all three in person, and Thursdays we're going to have limited programming only when we have some extra workshop facilitators needing to come in. And so what's exciting about our Houston program is we are partnered with She Space. So on Mondays and Tuesdays, we will be located at She Space in the Lower Heights, and then on Wednesdays, we'll be located at the Ion in Midtown.
Got it. Okay, so I do want to circle back on one thing that both of y'all mentioned was the wellness component. And I think that coupled with the community building that we do between the cohort members has been a huge part in what sets us apart from other programs that I know of and other programs that our founders have told us about. I'd like to know just the motivation behind incorporating wellness into our program. And I know that we're really intentional about, even when it comes to building the cohort itself and making sure that it is this environment of growth. So Amanda, if you want to start, and I'd love to hear, Alyssa, your thoughts as well.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned kind of the way we build our program. So one thing we really focus on too is making sure that it's a collaborative space and not a competitive space, first of all. So when we accept our 10 companies, we really want to make sure that they will not be competing with each other, but instead collaborating, getting to know each other, and supporting each other through this journey. So alongside with that, we have our Wellness Wednesdays, because for underrepresented founders, there's just so many feelings that haven't really been able to be expressed yet. And so many of them have mentioned feeling dismissed in a room, not feeling seen. And we really wanted to give them a space to really have a community that understands them, to share those experiences, get some feedback, help them, armor up and figure out different ways to work in a society that hasn't been supporting them for this long. And so our Wellness Wednesdays are a hit, and it's such a good way. I tell our founders when they come into the Wellness Wednesday session, we are not talking about your business today at all. We are talking about you. So the focus has been really helpful, and we do everything from meaningful conversations about topics that they want to bring up on their own. We will even maybe do some yoga sessions. We'll go to dinner. We'll do a mental health session with a mental health expert. So there's so many different ways to pull in wellness, and I definitely think that has been such a big part of the success of our program.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I really like that you mentioned not having the cohort feel like a competitive space, but a collaborative space. So one of the things that we incorporate into all of our programming is at the beginning of every workshop, just so every facilitator, every mentor, every founder, really everyone that touches the program has agreed to our DivInc collaboration pillars. So we want to make sure that everyone that's coming into the program understands that it's really important for us all to both take space and make space. We always want to work with the best intentions in mind and assume that everyone else has the best intentions for us as well, making sure that we create a space where people can feel like they can be really authentic, they can be transparent and show a lot of empathy for each other there as well. So that's a really big part of not just the Wellness Wednesdays, but the kind of overall collaborative nature of the program itself. But specifically for the whole Founder Wellness Wednesdays, I really like integrating what I call the Triforce of communication, which sounds very fancy. It sounds like it should be like a little like pyramid or something. But when we're sharing out for a whole Founder Wellness, part of making that a really safe space is the understanding that not everybody's going to want to share all the time. So I always encourage founders to let us know which of the three they are kind of falling into that day. If they just need ears, if they just need someone to listen, they just need to vent, get something off their chest. We are absolutely here for that and don't need to say anything in return. The second is empathy. If there's something that they're working through that they just really need a sounding board for, they need someone to understand how they're feeling. And a lot of the founders who have gone through the program and will go through the program are all able to relate to a lot of the same issues that founders see. So that empathy comes in really important there. And then the third one is advice. And so we always make sure that in the whole Founder Wellness and all of our programming that people aren't just kind of jumping to advice unless it's specifically asked for. So I'll have the founders come in and let me know if they're looking for ears, empathy, or advice. And that's how we work through our wellness sessions together.
And I love the fact that, and you mentioned a second ago, I love the fact that in those sessions, one of my favorite things is watching the founder to founder support system grow, because we always approach with the thought of no one has the monopoly of information in the room. Everyone is bringing their experiences and their expertise. And so it really is truly a collaborative effort. And sometimes it's not even connected to us. Sometimes it's just the founder to founder relationships are the ones that are most valuable. And I've had one of the founders from sports tech say that he thought he was just walking in to network into our accelerator to network, and he came out with a family. So, I mean, like, seriously. But so a person goes through the 12 weeks, or at least the first 10 weeks. Now we're in that 2-week stretch that is leading into demo day. And can y'all tell us what demo day is and what those last 2 weeks of prep entail, and then getting ready for the portfolio program? And Amanda, if you could talk about demo day, and Alyssa, I'd love you to take us on the journey of portfolio program after demo day is over.
Sure.
Yeah, great point. So demo day is our big showcase at the end of the program to really show our community, partners, and potential customers and clients really what you've been working on these past 12 weeks. So what's really fun is we record your beginning pitches, and then we get to see really where they end up at the end, and it is just incredible. So we're refining that as much as we possibly can. And the goal of demo day is for y'all for the cohort to really share, who are you looking to connect with? What partners are you looking to connect with? Can we reach out to some potential customers that can attend, but also potential angel investors and VCs in the room as well, to really get to know the cohort and then set up some time with them afterwards to get to know them deeper. And so those last 2 weeks are, of course, a big home stretch of focusing on getting that pitch refined for demo day. But we're also focused on, at the very end, is fundraising, building your team, and legal. So kind of going over all of those big buckets of items to where we want our founders to feel as confident as possible leaving our program, which, of course, leads into our portfolio program. But we want to leave them with what do they need for the next 6 months? What can we help them team wise? Where do you need to be with all of your legal paperwork? And what does your fundraising roadmap look like? Are you trying to raise in the next 6 months to a year or so? And if not, what alternative routes can we help you identify?
Got it. And then once we've done all of that and the adrenaline's pumping, they're moving into the portfolio program. What is that? And what is that experience like?
Yeah, so once you are a DivInc alumni, or once a founder is a DivInc alumni, they are forever part of the DivInc family. And the portfolio program is really set up to support companies after they finish the accelerator program. We do require that companies that finish up an accelerator report out metrics to us every 6 months for the first 3 years. That helps us track things like your revenue, your customer growth, your funding. It also gives us a really regular touch point for us to understand your needs, how we can support you better. And so the portfolio program is a bunch of different things, but they're all intended to support. So we've got quarterly events that address specific needs of the portfolio. That can be anything and everything from organizing your taxes to making your first full-time hire, setting up an advisory board, whatever it is that founders are needing support in at the time. We'll really work to curate those workshops, make sure that there's plenty of time to ask really specific questions. We also have a peer accountability program where founders will meet once a month for 6 months with founders across cohorts so that they can get a better understanding of each other's growth and support each other in that way. So you mentioned earlier, like, it's really exciting to see all of the founder connections that happen, especially in the portfolio program. Really, DivInc's role is to just kind of hold the container and facilitate the space. We really want to encourage that peer-to-peer support and connection there. You'll have continued access to the DivInc mentor and investor network, and continued access to discounts, perks. We're always sending out things in our alumni Slack about, like, hey, make sure you apply for this funding opportunity or this pitch competition. So it's a really great way to stay connected to the DivInc community and make sure that you continue to receive support for your company.
Fantastic. So it doesn't end at the end of 12 weeks at all.
Oh, that's the beginning.
They're not through with us. Well, I do want to ask in some of our final questions. I would love to hear, with your experience so far with the founders that you've worked with, and your experience with the program, I would love to hear what you personally think would be like the DivInc secret sauce. Like, what is the thing that if a founder knew this about the program, they would absolutely understand how amazing it is and get a good understanding of the experience that they would have. So, Amanda, if you could start.
Yes, I would say that my favorite part about running a DivInc program is not every program is the same. Now, that to me is the secret sauce, because each program has up to 10 founders, but not all 10 founders need the same things, and not each cohort needs the same things. So we do have our typical DivInc curriculum, but the exciting part is after we accept these companies and they get their onboarding information ready and they've sent us some of their needs and some skills that they're looking to enhance, we're able to fix up our curriculum, change some things, add some things in, take some things out, and pull in the right people to make sure that we're serving them as individualized companies. So that individualized attention to detail of exactly what we're pulling in for their specific needs and not just founders as a whole, I think is a game changer to make sure that we're hitting all the points that they want for these 3 months. And the other thing I'd say is kind of what we talked about earlier with the whole founder wellness. That piece has by far been the most that's what founders talk to us about when they leave. And that's what I love so much. We're creating that safe space. We're creating an incredible just group of people that now know each other and that are now going to be able to rely on each other moving forward. And it's, for some people, the very first time people are actually listening to their needs and to their stressors. And so we give them that community. And so I definitely think that is our secret sauce.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with a lot with the kind of holistic approach to founder growth. The statistics on startups, unfortunately, are great, but we want to make sure that whether this is your first startup or you've got 3 more startups down the line, that we will continue to support you as a founder and help grow you as a founder throughout the program. And I think one of the things that Amanda mentioned is, really creating that safe space. We at DivInc understand that we're working with underrepresented founders, and there's a lot of additional challenges that come along with that aren't typically addressed in just a regular accelerator program. So really working with that in mind and making that kind of the core of the connection and the collaboration that we want to create within the cohort is really something that I think comes through to the founders and ends up being a really important part of the community that they build here.
Well said. I think that is, I would have to agree with that. That's the secret sauce that I feel like many founders have communicated to me, and I've heard them talking about is when it's all said and done, you walk away with a serious support system of your fellow founders as well as the DivInc team. And I think we've even said online and our social, once you're part of the family, you're here forever. Can't get, I said, can't get rid of us. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. As we mentioned before, we are right now looking for cohort members for our Austin Women in Tech Accelerator. Applications are open right now. You can go to divinc.org/apply to submit your application. And that cohort will begin in February, correct?
Yes. February 6th.
Yes. So send in your application, and we look forward to considering you. And of course, our Houston cohort begins on September 19th, and we will be having a Meet the Cohort happy hour that same week. So follow us and stay tuned for more information about that if you're in the Houston area to come meet the Houston Women in Tech cohort on that day. So we're excited. Lots going on. So follow us on Instagram and Twitter so you'll know what's happening in the next couple of months. And again, thank you, Alyssa and Amanda, for taking the time out to talk with us. Until next time, we'll see you then.